In this video, I'm going to give you an introduction to finance. And so the first thing to say is when you're dealing with finance, you always want to round off at the very end. You don't want to round off partway through the question. And so always keep your answers in your calculator, or you can do the shift store button and choose a letter like A. Then that will store it on your calculator. And if you want to use it ever, you press the alpha button and A in red, and that will bring the answer back again with all its decimals. Then in terms of formulas, you might be used to the compound interest formula, which A is the accumulated amount, the end amount. P is the principal, the starting amount. 1 plus I is your interest. I personally, if it's 11%, I like to write it as 0.11, and N is the number of years. If you're compounding, let's say quarterly, your I would divide by 4, and at the same time your years, let's say it was 3 years, you would times by 4. So just remember that you always, when you're compounding, you're dividing interest and timesing years at the same time. Then why I've written here CURB, it's just a little reminder acronym of compound interest goes with reduced balance. And so when it's depreciating, when it's losing value, like a car, washing machine, whatever, then it's like the compound interest formula, but just with a minus in the formula down here. Whereas simple interest, the formula is almost the same, except instead of to the power of n years, it's the interest times n, because it's going up at a steady rate. And so this is an old lady's name. I'm sure it was spelled differently, but Cecil. And so simple interest will always go with straight line depreciation. And so if you see straight line depreciation, just think of this little acronym, and you'll know that it's pretty much simple interest, just with a minus in here. If you want to work out the actual interest that you've paid, you just work out the accumulated amount minus the principal amount. So say I started investing 5,000 Rand, and at the end of the question I had 6,000 Rand. So how much interest did I get? It's just the final amount, 6,000 minus 5,000. Hire purchase is typically to do with simple interest. So you maybe ask for a microwave on hire purchase agreement, which means that you're going to often pay a little bit of a deposit. You'll get the microwave, but then you have to pay them back. And so they typically calculate that on simple interest. Then these two words, inflation and population, are the two words where they don't need to say compound interest. Most questions will always say, John takes out 2,000 Rand at a compound interest rate of 8% compounded monthly. So you'll hear the word compounded, and you'll know you're dealing with compound interest. But if you see the words population or inflation, automatically you know that those are always going to be compound questions. And then the last thing for this introduction to finance is exchange rates. If you're ever going from a weak exchange rate to a strong one, you divide by the currency exchange rate. So if you've got 500 Rand and you're trying to convert to dollars, which is stronger, and maybe the currency is sitting at $17 to the Rand, then to get our 500 Rand into dollars, you'll just divide it by 17, and that will give you the dollars that you have. Similarly, if you're going from a strong currency to a weak currency, you times. And the picture that I have there is of a bodybuilder who's carrying more times weights. And so because he's stronger, you times to get into weak currency. So if I've got my 15 pounds and I'm trying to convert it into rands, and I know that the exchange rate is 24 pounds is to, sorry, this is all the other way around. 1 pound will give you 25 Rand. Then I know that if I've got 15 pounds, I'm going to times it by 25 to get it into rands. This would be the other way around as well. So the strong currency, you'll always notice it's the strong currency, even if you don't know your currencies and which is stronger. It will always be the smaller number will be the stronger currency. And so if you've got something like 0.515 of some currency is to 8 of another currency, and you're not sure which is stronger, what you do is you divide both by the smaller number. That will convert this into 1 is to 53.3 recurring, and the smaller number will be the stronger currency. And so again, you can apply my rules here for growing from strong to weak or weak to strong. I hope you found this video helpful for introduction to all things finance. We're going to dive in deeper into the rest of the section in the future videos. If you did, please like it, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends. Thanks.